The thing I get asked a lot is it expensive living here on the Isle of Man? And in this video, I'll look at addressing that question. I'll be covering everything from utilities, fuel, shopping, travel, housing, anything that somebody moving to the Isle of Man may want to consider. Or you may just be interested in island life. Either way, stick around. If this is your sort of content, hit the subscribe button and give us a follow, like this video, and hopefully this content interests you and is helpful in some way. Okay, so the plan for the video is to do a compare and contrast between the Isle of Man and the UK. I'm very aware that it's not going to be 100% spot on, because you're comparing an island with a population of just over 80,000 to a country with a population of over 70 million. And there's a lot difference in variation to places you can live in the UK compared to the Isle of Man. So I appreciate that, but hopefully it just gives you an idea of what you're currently paying in the UK to what you can expect to pay on the Isle of Man. And also for the people on the Isle of Man, you may be able to see that the cost of living on the Isle of Man isn't that much greater than it is in the UK, because there is a consensus, it seems, on the island that we pay so much more for things over here compared to the UK. So as we're talking about the cost of living in the UK compared to living in the Isle of Man, what is the best way to combat the cost of living? Having more money go into your bank. So where would you end up with more of your wages coming home with you? The Isle of Man. The way the taxation is over here, come April we get a personal allowance of £17,000, and then you start paying 10% on X amount, and then it goes up to 20%, blah blah blah. So based on a 40 grand salary, you end up about 2 grand better off each year. Who wouldn't want an extra 2 grand going into their bank account? We pay a little bit more national insurance on the island, so it's not as big a gap as you might think it is. But still, if you're on a 40 grand salary, an extra 2 grand, that's a few bills paid for that year, isn't it? So yeah, based on wages, Isle of Man wins. Housing. Is it more expensive to buy a house on the island compared to the UK? Short answer, pretty much yes. Apart from London, the Isle of Man, on average, is more expensive to buy a property than anywhere in the UK. But that's not the whole story. That's not the whole picture. You have to take other things into consideration as well. Such as the fact, on the Isle of Man, you can still claim tax relief on your interest payments on your mortgage. That got phased out in the UK in 2000. So for single people buying a home, tax relief on up to 350,000. For couples, up to £700,000. 10% tax relief on your interest payments over the year. That could save you literal thousands on your mortgage. Definitely something to consider. Council tax. That dreaded thing you pay each month in the UK. On the island, it's what people from the UK would consider, people of a certain age in the UK would consider the old rate system, but it's there. You've got to bear in mind the fact that on a £600,000 property, you'll pay about £900 to £1,200 for your rates on the Isle of Man, and in the UK you'll be paying £1,800 to £2,400 for a £250,000 property. So yeah, the taxation around rates and council tax, you'll pay a lot less on the island compared to what you will pay in the UK. And as we're talking about rates and council tax, we'll move on to renting. Because when you rent on the Isle of Man, generally speaking, the price you pay per month includes your rates. You don't have to find additional money on top to pay your council tax. If a property is being rented for £900 a month, that includes your rates. If you pay £900 a month rent in the UK, you're then going to have to find another £110, £120 a month on top to pay your council tax. Again, taxation over here is slightly different. The way they charge things is different. When it comes to renting, the rates are on the building and the landlord pays your rate from what he or she charges you per month on your rent. Definitely helps with budgeting each month. You know where you stand every month. You know you don't have to think about that additional charge every month. So yeah, another positive from being on the Isle of Man. There's not a lot of detail to go into where renting is concerned because it's quite relative to where you live, same as it being in the UK. And if you take equivalent areas in the UK to the Isle of Man, the rent is similar. You know, you're not. Rent is high wherever you are. It's ridiculous. We all know that. But if you took equivalent areas, similar size, similar locations, big towns by the seaside, etc., etc., you're paying roughly the same when it comes to renting. So yeah, no clear winner on that side of things. But it does come with the added bonus of it. We don't get when you're renting, say, an apartment, you're not looking for the additional charge of council tax like you are in the UK. So if you take that into account, it probably is slightly cheaper to rent on the island than it is in the UK. Rates in the Isle of Man, very similar to council tax in the UK, as in they're there to pay for services and the like. But it also includes water rates. So yeah, we have to pay rates for refuge collections, local authority services, park amenities, but it also includes your water rates. So you don't have a separate water bill, it's included in your rates. Policing on the island is covered by direct taxation. Tax you pay comes from central government through the taxes you pay in your wages, taxes you pay in VAT, etc., etc. But yeah, it's not like the UK where your council tax covers policing, fire service. It's all covered separately from central government. Your rates aren't for that. Just thought I'd add that little snippet of information. If you listen to certain people on the Isle of Man, you would think we're getting charged a mammoth amount more compared to the UK when it comes to utilities, when it comes to your gas and your electric. You think we were getting robbed blind, but everybody's getting robbed blind where utilities are concerned. So, but it's not the case. We're not overly charged in comparison to the UK. If anything, on average, it's cheaper. Especially when you come to the fact that your water is covered in your rates, you're left with your gas and electric. And on average, that's cheaper on the island than it is in the UK. There's some outliers. Some people aren't on mains gas, so they have to have oil shipped in, and so that works out but more expensive. But then that's the same case in certain places in the UK. So yeah, when it comes to mains line gas and electricity, the Isle of Man on average is slightly cheaper. So another one for the Isle of Man. Another large expense for the majority of us is motoring. It's a need. It's not a want. We need a car. It's a must. We've got to get to and from work, especially when you live on the island. I couldn't live without a car. Also, weekly shop, getting the kids to and from school. For most of us, we have to have a car. It's an expense that we have to put up with. So, is motoring on the island much more expensive in compared to the UK? The short answer is no. No, it's not. It's pretty much on par when it comes to fuel costs, road tax, general maintenance, other than the fact you don't need an MOT on the island, but you are expected to keep your vehicle road safety. They do periodic safety checks, so don't think you can just go without ensuring that your tyres are safe and your brakes are safe, and they do periodic checks around the island, and if you get pulled you could lose your car, get fined, etc. The one place the island trumps the UK is insurance. Now, our average insurance for the island is increased slightly because of the fact that we allow 16-year-olds on the island to drive cars. But for more seasoned drivers, shall we say, it's a lot cheaper, shall we say. I've gone from paying like $550 a year to $220. Just from moving the UK to the island, I've saved myself over £300 a year on car insurance. So if you break it up, overall, it's probably cheaper to own a vehicle on the Isle of Man than it is in the UK. Now, I've touched on this before, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. Shopping, food shop. The predominant place on the island to go food shopping is Tesco. So, is it costing more to shop on the island at Tesco compared to the UK? Yes, because they've got to import the stuff to the island, and that comes at a cost, rather large cost. And obviously Tesco aren't going to absorb all that cost. It's going to get passed on to the consumer, us. So yes, there's no escaping it. Shopping on the island is more expensive than shopping in the UK. It is what it is. You can't escape it. There's fewer choices, the import costs. It's always going to be cheaper to shop in the UK than it is on the Isle of Man. So the last subject for this video is something that I have spoken about in previous videos, and that is the cost of travel. I'd say the UK is going to have us trumped on the cost of travel. Us as in those of us that live on the Isle of Man. Because other than going on a sunny holiday or going skiing or whatever, just travelling for holidays, you don't have to leave the UK for anything. Whereas that's not the case on the island. There might be very different reasons to travel to the UK. And every time you travel to the UK, it comes with a serious expense. And especially at peak times. So yeah, UK has us trumped on that. It is vastly, in my opinion, vastly more expensive to where travel's concerned, just due to the need for many of us to get to and from the UK on a regular basis. So to summarise, on balance, given everything that has been considered in this video, I would say the Isle of Man is the cheaper place to live. Up until the point you have to leave the Isle of Man. So generally speaking, there's probably not a fat lot in it. It's not as expensive to live here as people on the island try and make it out to be. It's expensive because it's expensive everywhere. It's expensive in the UK, it's expensive in Europe. Life these days is expensive, but it's no more expensive living on the Isle of Man than it is in the UK, no matter what you believe. There's things that are cheaper, there's things that are more expensive. It basically ends up evening itself out. Let me know your thoughts. You probably disagree. Just be kind in the comments. Give your opinion. See you on the next one.